It's no secret that the Netflix series Stranger Things is a sensation, possibly even the show that made the entire platform excel the most. The sci-fi horror show has a unique 1980s ambiance and is inspired by the era's pop culture with millions and millions of fans across the globe. If you haven't heard of this hit show created by the Duffer Brothers, you should crawl out from the upside down and start binge-watching. Not only has Stranger Things spawned its own bunch of charismatic young actors, the cast also features all-stars like Winona Ryder. While Stranger Things is now already in its 4th season, there's still plenty of facts that you probably didn't know about this series, especially ones we weren't able to see on screen, from non-stop farting that made it nearly impossible to film, to the serious lengths and costs creators have gone to make Stranger Things vision seamless. So if you want to know more about this very strange show that has the world addicted, these are some things you didn't know about Stranger Things here for you on Famous Life. Number 5. Will's dead body was played by a 30-year-old woman. Despite Stranger Things being packed with a young cast, there are still complications to working with child actors from time to time, which might be why in season 1, Will's dead body was actually played by a 30-something-year-old woman. Well, it makes sense considering you usually can't ask a child to float in ice-cold water at 3 a.m., which is exactly what this extra had to do. In a scene where a body that everyone thinks is Will's is found in a quarry, a stand-in, in this case a stunt woman, was used. The crew was going to use a dummy, but it just wouldn't be believable enough, and of course, they couldn't throw a kid in that freezing water. The producer Sean Levy explained, "We asked the stunt woman to go in that icy 3 a.m. water as Will Byers so that it would look maximum convincing." And in his words, the person chosen was a grown woman in her 30s. To really make viewers buy it, they dressed the stunt woman in Will's clothes and a short-haired wig while she laid perfectly still. Well, I guess it worked. I know you're all gonna go back and watch that scene now. Number 4. The boys wouldn't stop farting on set. They say boys will be boys, but in this case, they really will. And apparently the male cast members just love to let her rip on the set of Stranger Things. Yes, in order to annoy Millie Bobby Brown, her male co-stars would fart during any of the bus scenes, because it's a tight space, even worse for her. The Duffer Brothers explained, "We're shooting a scene in the abandoned bus and one of the boys decides to fart more than once. It became so toxic in the bus that the crew had to temporarily evacuate. We had a pep talk the next day that basically boiled down to, we're right at the end. Don't drop the ball. Let's bring this home. Generic middle school sports coach speech. We know, but it worked." Kids think farts are hilarious, that's just the way it is, and they also like to tease each other. But no wonder Millie was frustrated. Who can concentrate on their lines when they're suffocating like that? While the identities of the farters weren't specifically revealed, David Harbour also brought up in the past that they would sometimes fart during takes. Yep, kids, little human beings with big important jobs farting during takes. I won't say which one. They were amazing and I am in awe of their talent. Well, at least he threw a compliment in there. Number 3. Millie Bobby Brown actually shaved her head for season 1. Clearly, one of the most, if not the most distinct things about Eleven in season 1 of Stranger Things is her shaved head. The character's signature bald look made her memorable when viewers get introduced to her at the start of the show. Not to mention this look returned for the 4th season. This time, actress Millie Bobby Brown is rocking a hair cap to get that buzz cut look, but back in season 1, she really did shave her head. The then 12-year-old Millie Bobby Brown said goodbye to her hair so she could play the role of Eleven, and in a video from before season 1 was filming on YouTube, we can see it all go down. Back in 2018, Millie reflected on the experience, saying, "The day I shaved my head was the most empowering moment of my whole life. The last strand of hair cut off was the moment my whole face was on show, and I couldn't hide behind my hair like I used to. As I looked in the mirror, I realized I had one job to do: inspire. Shaving your head is so empowering. You don't need hair to be beautiful. You are beautiful with or without. I learned that too." Number 2. 2 beloved main characters were supposed to die in season 1. So next up, you might not know that not 1 but 2 main characters who are also fan favorites were supposed to meet their end in season 1. First up, Joe Keery's much loved and crushed on character Steve Harrington. Initially, he was scripted to simply be Nancy's bad boyfriend and be killed off in the 1st season, but that was all before Keery was chosen for the role. Ross Duffer explained to The Hollywood Reporter, "We love Joe. We fell in love with him during the making of season 1, which is why we ended up writing that arc for him where he's helping to save the day with Jonathan, Charlie Heaton, and Nancy. Steve was supposed to be this jockey douchebag, and Joe was so much more than that. And that's not it. Steve wasn't the only one set to die. 11 was supposed to as well. Ross also explained that the plan for her character was to sacrifice herself to save the day. Continuing on, that was always the end game, but once we realized that the show was potentially going to go on longer than one season, we needed to just leave it more up in the air, because deep down we knew the show wouldn't really work without 11, and at that point, we knew how special Millie was. If there was going to be more Stranger Things, 11 had to come back. Well, 4 seasons deep, and thank goodness they changed their minds, and I'm sure Millie Bobby Brown is thinking the exact same thing. Number 1. A horrifying real-life murder actually went down at Starcourt Mall. Finally, for this last fact, it's more of a scary one than anything else. For the most part, Stranger Things didn't have much in the way of spooky on-set happenings, but there is one tragic and quite scary event that is loosely connected to the show's production. It did technically happen on set, but it wasn't a Stranger Things set yet. Let me explain. In season 3 of the show, a new hotspot for the characters was introduced right away, known as Starcourt Mall. The big new shopping center in the small town of Hawkins served as a backdrop for the kids on the show to work, hang out, and more. The interesting thing about Starcourt Mall, though, is it's actually a real mall in Duluth, Georgia, an area of Atlanta. In reality, it's called Gwinnett Place Mall, and while it was a happening place when it first opened over 34 years ago, other malls opening nearby really hurt this place's business. The show's production designer explained that the mall was almost empty and in a state of nearly complete disrepair. And while the thought of a rundown mall is pretty scary in itself, that's not the fact we're talking about. Before Stranger Things crews went into Gwinnett Place Mall to film in December 2017, a 19-year-old woman named Silling Man was found murdered in the back area of a vacant Subway in the mall's food court. Still worse, her body was there for 2 weeks before anyone noticed due to the food court being vacant, along with many of the stores. There just weren't many customers or people passing through that side of the mall. The story didn't have a happy ending, but the victim's boyfriend was eventually charged with this terrible crime. Well, I don't want to leave things on such a depressing note, so for one bonus fact about the show, I'll tell you just how serious the Duffer Brothers are about making everything about the show full on 80s vibes. I mean, that's one of the aspects that makes the series so damn cool. The crew and producers take massive steps to make sure all details are accurate. From the telephones and technology to the appearance of the Burger King logo, the exact same sheets that Stephen Colbert had as a kid. I'm sure 80s kids would testify that the memorabilia from that era is on point on the show. Millie Bobby Brown confirmed this when she told Teen Vogue, "We genuinely live in the 80s world when we're on sets. Everything to the underwear that we're given. We get tighty whities. It's everything you see is what you get." Wow, even their undergarments, that's commitment. Well, that's really just a fraction of the behind-the-scenes secrets from Netflix's Stranger Things. And from most of these facts alone, we can conclude that the creators, cast and crew from the series really do go the extra mile to make this an epic viewing experience and to please their fans. But even top-tier actors fart on set sometimes, on purpose. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Famous Life and leave a comment for who you'd like us to feature next.